Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to introduce Sandy Schultz Hessler. Sandy combines over 30 years of business experience and leadership from esteemed organizations including IBM, Procter & Gamble, and Harvard University, with a lifetime pursuit and understanding of human potential and consciousness. Sandy has taught at Tufts University, Miami University of Ohio, and Harvard. Currently, she teaches the Startup Institute here at Central Wyoming College in Jackson. And somehow, with all of these accomplishments, Sandy loves adventure. She is the mother of 5 children, that's an adventure, and in her words, is an addicted snowboarder. Please welcome Sandy.
Thanks so much, and it is such an honor to be here. Huge congratulations on your degree and your accomplishment. And not just the degree, but the great balancing act, as many of you have held full-time jobs, and raising kids, as I know, is a full-time job in and of itself as well. So just take a minute, and all the parents and friends, just to breathe in everything that you've accomplished. Go. So 2 weeks ago, I sat where you're sitting with my 2 oldest sons graduating from college, which was quite a moment for me. Yay! And I sat there, and while I looked at them, I also remembered back 31 years ago when I was sitting there, and I wondered, because Susan had asked me to do this, what advice would I give that me of 30 years ago? And the 2 words that really came to mind were around vision and engagement. So I want to start this with a story. So a long time ago, there was a traveler who was walking down a road, and he came upon 2 men who were moving large boulders and rocks. To the first man he came upon, he said, "Sir, what are you doing?" And the man, without looking up, with shoulders humped, grumbled and said, "Can't you see I'm moving these rocks?" And then he came upon the second man, and he said, "Sir, what are you doing?" And the man stood tall and looked him right in the eye and had a twinkle about him. And he said, "I am building a cathedral." So what I want to talk about today as you go on your next adventure is, what cathedral are you going to build for your life? And I don't mean what job or what house. I mean, what internal cathedral? What are the values you're going to bring to this life? What is it, when you look backwards, you want to have given to yourself and to the world to really have made a difference? And sometimes when I teach, people say, "Well, I have absolutely no idea yet." And the word then that comes to mind is a way to get there, to figure out what that cathedral is and how to build it stronger and taller, is all around the idea of engagement. All around whatever you do, whatever job, in your relationships, when you volunteer, to really give it all you've got, to bring your A game, to roll up your sleeves and viscerally say, "I am here in this moment, and I am going to do the best I can." And it doesn't mean that we don't make mistakes. It just means that we give the best of us to whatever we do. There's an Indiana professor named Sean Anker who has a very widely seen TED Talk on happiness. And he talks about, in our very achievement-oriented culture, how we've really kind of outsourced and moved away from happiness, because he said in our culture, we're so success-driven, and we think happiness is on the other side of success, external success. So when we get a job, we immediately want a better job. When we get good grades, we ask ourselves, why didn't we get better grades? And so on and so on. And if happiness is on the other side of success, we never get there. So it's really hard to bring your best self to what you do. And what he urges all of us to do is look inside first and bring that joy and happiness to whatever we do, and then you will have incredible success. So, and I've seen that. When I was at Harvard, one of my jobs was to run career services at the Kennedy School, where about 1,000 people graduated every year. And in that year, I could pretty easily tell who would have 4 or 5 job offers at the end of the year, and who was going to come into our office grumbling that the world didn't open up the way that they had wanted it to. And it was those people who really rolled up their sleeves and gave it everything they got. They were early to things. They volunteered to things. They brought in so much energy, were the ones that had 4 or 5 job offers. So what happens when we engage, according to the German poet Goethe back over 225 years ago, is when we fully commit and engage, a whole stream of events issues from that decision, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidents, meetings, and material assistance which no man could have dreamed come his way. In other words, when we really give it our best and we engage, luck happens. So when I see it with my startup students, excuse me, I have a cold, I see it all the time. We talk about it, and then they'll come in on a Tuesday morning and say, you would never guess who I ran into at Pearl Street Bagels. Or you would never guess when I was doing my research, like one of my best friends from childhood is someone that I could really connect with. So luck happens when we put our best foot forward. A funny story that I have with that is, so I had gone to the Kennedy School back almost 20 years ago, and I had been involved and done some things, and then I went on and I was raising my kids. And when my youngest daughter was going to kindergarten, I said, okay, maybe now it's time to go finish the PhD. And so I called up the dean, hoping that he'd remember me, just to kind of bounce some ideas off. Because I was in Boston. I'm like, if you're going to finish a PhD, maybe try at Harvard. And so we went and had a meeting, and he said, you know, this is all fine and good, but I have this job you might be great for, and wouldn't you want to be assistant dean at Harvard? And I'm kind of looking behind me, saying, is he talking to me? The harder you work, the luckier you get, and unforeseen events will happen that you could never, ever have guessed. The last thing I've seen when people really engage and luck happens is that they become really filled with gratitude for all the things that happen. So they give back to the world in thanks. And I want to kind of close with a story that I heard on NPR driving into work one day that really cemented that for me. And it was the story of a gurney driver. You know, he's the guy who goes into your hospital room and picks you up on your gurney and takes you to the operating room. And he loved to sing. So what he would do is he got a whole repertoire of songs, and he saw that people were full of fear and anxiety and some stress on their way to whatever operation. So he would ask people, what's your favorite song? And they would tell him, and so while they're going down the corridors of Mass General Hospital, he would sing. And he did this for 25 years. So now, 25 years later, there's this long article on NPR. And when he was interviewed about this, he said, I am the luckiest person on the planet because I get to make people who are full of fear for a moment feel some joy and some happiness. He knew how to build his cathedral and did it every day and was so full of gratitude for his ability to do that. And I want to just also close that I don't mean that life is always good. Life is going to have great things, and it's going to have really, really tough things. And as Scott Peck said in A Road Less Traveled, if we can hold on to the fact that instead of expecting things to always be good, when they're good, we're grateful, and when they're bad, we know it's going to change again because the middle line is in the middle, then we can, again, always fully engage and give it our best. And the last line in Rudyard Kipling's poem, If, which I heard when I was 12 and is by far my favorite poem, says, if you can give the unforgiving minute 60 seconds worth of distance run, then yours is the earth and everything in it. And what is more, you'll be a man, my son, or a daughter. So going back to those sons who recently graduated, when they were graduating from high school, they had earlier said they really wanted tattoos. And me stupidly said, if when you're 18 you still want a tattoo, I'll go with you and get a tattoo. So of course they remembered this, and after we graduated, that was the gift they wanted. So I found myself in a tattoo parlor. It's the only time I've been in a tattoo parlor. And on my back, I have 3 Chinese symbols. And they say, imagine, believe, and have courage. So I ask you as you go out the door to really think about in the days to come, what is the cathedral you want to build? And I wish the greatest blessings to you, and in this engagement of life, blessings to everyone else, because then you will have the greatest blessings brought back to you. Huge, huge congratulations on all you've accomplished. Have a great afternoon. Congratulations, you.
Thank you very much, Sandy. That was very inspirational. Well, we would now like to recognize those individuals for whom the ceremony is intended. These are students of Central